Let's call this meeting to order. This is the Community and Economic Development Committee, and today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2023, and we're scheduled from 9 to 10:30. I don't know how we'll be here till 10:30 or not, but we'll see how that goes. We'll start out with some introductions. I'm the chair, Pete Peterson.
Joey Sweet.
Kevin Cross.
And those on the phone.
Christopher Constant.
Mr.
Randy
Constant
Soap.
And Mr. Salt. Okay, fantastic. Well, we need to add a couple of items to our agenda today. So under unfinished business, we're going to talk a SLUP for alcohol, and we've got an S version of AO 2023-25S this morning. And so let's add that under unfinished business. And also under new business, an item we're going to call C, we'll be planning an ACBA Friday event. Unless there's any objections, we'll add those items to the agenda. Hearing no objections, let's move on down to this ordinance AO 2023-25S. And Francis, are you running us through this, or is Dean running us through this?
Actually,
Okay, proceed.
thank you, and I apologize. I didn't get this to the county staff until just recently this morning. So I'm not sure if it's on the website yet. So just a few changes recommended from the planning department. I guess you originally went through it without much time to think about it, and I forgot a little bit. So I'll just go through. There was an AM. And it's just got 3 bullets that describe what was changed. So it's the first one is on page 1, really just capitalizing the state for proper reference. And the SLUP isn't really a commonly known acronym, so we're spelling it out, special land use permit for alcohol. We can sort of indicate that to the abbreviation and where we are. But then, like more, I guess, one substantial change is on page 5, subsection, you'll see there's a deletion in sentence though. And so this sort of first modification is this whole subsection C's sort of crux of this change, and it follows the similar first minor modification. It's not really called minor modification, but I'm not referring to it that way. For the special land use permit for marijuana, it's very much the same. It's a system that's worked great for the marijuana industry and changes the to their licensed premises there. So we sort of modeled it here, except for the sentence that's being deleted. That was just one addition. It was sort of a drafting intent to create a different sort of threshold standard for when a modification enlarges premises and it becomes closer to a residential property adjacent. And but basically that deleted sentence, it sort of already fits within the other standard where the director is able to determine if there's significant change. That's how I understand it from the planning department. And so the sentence isn't really a necessity, and so they recommend deletion, and that's that change here. I don't know, would anyone from planning want to add to that explanation?
Anything to add, Francis?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to thank Dean and Shelley and Ms. LaFrance, Mr. Constant, Mr. Ballin, the sponsors, for the good coordination that they've done on this ordinance with the planning department, and it's been really great teamwork. So I just say that. Dean explained it perfectly. We just think that sentence works better as an internal planning policy than as a code language. And That's actually, I'm stealing from what we talked about internally, that Ryan, that's his explanation, and we totally agree. So I just was parroting with the point that Ryan made. I want to give credit to. But yeah, Dean explained it exactly, that it's maybe unnecessary as code language.
Anything to add, Ryan?
No, I think Francis nailed it, so.
Okay. Mr. Cross?
I know that the state recently made some pretty significant changes under SB 9 that goes into effect this year. Do we know if there's any conflicts between what we're doing and the new state regulations for licensing? Yes, sir.
Francis?
That's right. So this ordinance is timely housekeeping of changes to code to stay current with the recent changes that the state adopted to Title IV state statutes for alcohol. So this actually brings us into conformance with the state changes.
So I think maybe what we should do is that should be added as a whereas this ordinance brings us in compliance with SB 9 changes. I think that's an important point. Is it in there somewhere?
Mr. Cross, I think that is one of the whereas clauses.
I didn't see SB 9 there. But as long as it's in there, as long as that's explained, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, since we just received this morning, I'm not sure which whereas has that.
SB 9.
But it is in here somewhere?
I don't actually see here
Yeah,
a reference, but
I didn't see it. It's
there is
SB
some
9 Title
explanation
4.
out of the state law.
Let's read the third whereas clause where it says state discontinued. This is sort of an explanation of why that is necessary. So the third whereas, you see where it says the state a couple times.
You know, I think I might have been. You know what? I wasn't looking at the S version. I
Okay.
was looking at the. I should have gone to the next stack down. All right.
And if I would add, that language in reference to the state, is in the original version, it's there. There's SB 9, it has a lot of changes. It's very like a global comprehensive change to like Title IV for state law. And this maybe just a line, small part. We have our Title 10 and our protest to state liquor license process. And we have, I guess, a project underway that maybe you have heard about, where we're going to align those other provisions in our code, Title 10 and Title 2, with the changes by SB 9. And a lot of that's not effective at the state level until January 1, 2024. And so we have that drafting project to do within the next 10 months. But this does align state law as well for our land use portion in Title 21.
Excellent. Yeah, that was my mistake. I wasn't looking at the S version. Thank you.
Well, we'll have to make sure that that comprehensive ordinance gets before this committee at some point in time this summer or this fall after I'm gone. And whoever's chairing that committee will keep that on their radar. Any other changes in this ordinance we need to look at?
There's just one other small change of page 8 to the table, and it just missed this change in the original subsection small f under section 3 of page 8, middle of the page. You see I've changed conditional use to special use permit, but there's another conditional use that's bolded, that's changed in this version to deleted. We have some special use permits for alcohol, marijuana, and conditional uses for these other uses that require a conditional use process. So that's an incorrect terminology right here, and we're just deleting it.
Okay.
And that's the only changes for this version so far. Well, I guess I would add, we also have a summary of economic effects on the last pages. And basically, though there's not significant economic effects, the fees are changing, they're being lowered a little bit. And I guess planning is estimated that change is going to be more than $30,000. That's correct.
Francis?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, really, this S version is just a no-brainer, and this brings Title 21 into conformance with state statutes that have already been adopted. There's really a small number of alcohol licenses that go through that have modifications, and we want to support them and make it easier on them. And so this is, planning supports this this S version and thinks that it's really appropriate, timely, and logical.
So we're hoping this smooths the process a little bit?
Yeah, so industry will appreciate these changes, and planning does as well. So
Good. So win-win then. is
Yeah.
what we're looking at that. That's always a good thing. Any other comments or questions about,
Well, I would just add that a work session is scheduled for tomorrow to go over this, and it sounds like it might be a short work session.
Right.
And then this is before the body on Tuesday night for public hearing action.
okay? Well, we sort of got a little bit of a preview, those of us on the committee today. And so if you have a chance to go over this, and if you come up with any questions, we can probably have those answered tomorrow at the work session. So, all right, well, let's put that aside. We'll move further down our agenda. And let me see, we should maybe talk about outdoor seating for restaurants and short-term rentals. I had that, or actually, we'll start out with outdoor seating in restaurants. I think that is on our agenda for Tuesday as well, isn't it?
I think the outdoor seating for restaurants is the ordinance you just talked about.
Oh.
Short-term rentals is a separate topic.
Yeah,
And
okay.
but need to have been a separate
This is the same thing, all right.
I don't have any update on short-term rentals. I don't know if anybody else
All
has.
right.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So the ordinance that we were just talking about, this S version, this is the ordinance, this S version, that we just talked about, makes it easier for restaurants and businesses, breweries, and that to expand and change their floor plan. And it's intended to help with both internal building changes and expansions, say the tenant unit next door for a mall, but also for outdoor expansions to create patios. So that's where on your agenda, outdoor seating for restaurants, the ordinance doesn't say modifications for outdoor patios. It just says modifications, but that includes outdoor patios. So it's more comprehensive and just better for industry, better code, if that makes sense. So that's where Dean just explained that outdoor patios was just covered. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that was something that happened during COVID that as everyone was scrambling to try to figure out how to stay in business, they were doing whatever they could to make their customers feel more comfortable so they continue to show up. Mr. Cross?
Yeah, I probably don't know as much about this as I should. Could you explain that just a little bit for me? Because my understanding is that liquor licenses in part are based on the square footage of the building. There's a fee associated with that. So how do they handle that outside space that must be seasonal or just, maybe on sunny days or flex areas? Is it still based, you go out and measure that? And then how is that allocated into determining how that a fee is established?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Cross. So some diners are preferring outdoor seating still to indoor seating, and some restaurants and breweries and businesses that have alcohol licenses have the space to accommodate an outdoor patio, and they're interested in providing that as a way of getting new business or continuing their business. Not all of them, because they may have to hire new staff or they may have to manage an outdoor area that could be trickier. So not all businesses want this, but some do. And our current code allowed for that to occur, but when the state eliminated duplicate licenses, then it meant that the planning director could no longer administratively, quickly, and cheaply approve the outdoor patios. So this ordinance brings that back where we can do it and doubles the size of the patios that the planning director can approve.
So is patio space billed out the same as indoor space as a price per square foot for alcohol license? Because my understanding is it's based on the square footage of a building.
No,
correct.
No, the square footage is a flat fee with this
Okay.
ordinance, and it's a really cheap one. So industry will like that.
Thank you.
And so the fact that we changed the parking requirements actually opens it up a little bit more for them, for businesses to expand, to use some areas where they used to have parking for outdoor seating at this point.
Correct.
I think that's one of the reasons for going forward with this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. And it's good timing to be working on this now because, we're up to about 10 and a half hours of daylight or so, and the snow's going to actually be starting to melt out, I hope. And so spring will be here and the tourists will be arriving. I've actually heard that they've got record pre-bookings at hotels for this coming tourist season. So I don't know where the restaurants are going to get the personnel to handle all the customers, but I guess they're coming one way or another. So I was wondering where we are. We'll switch to short-term rentals. Is that ordinance is still in development, or
Pete?
where are we with that? Is it
Randy.
result?
On the line.
Pete, Randy here.
Thank you, Mr. Salt.
So thank you. So on SCRs, it's still with Dean being reviewed. I know Suzanne was looking at putting a couple placeholder work sessions in either March or April to kind of drive the bus. But what I'll do is I'll get with Dean outside of this and see if we can't get it cleaned up in time to at least start our first work session. I think we had either late March or early April for introduction was our timeline. So, but no update since the last EDC meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to keep that on the radar. It's becoming more prevalent here in the Yankees Bowl itself, not only in Girdwood, and
Appreciate it.
actually
Yep.
all over the country, from what I'm understanding, that short-term rentals are becoming much more popular. I guess we're down to item C, ACDA's First Friday event. Someone want to announce that?
Sure, I'll do that.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Weingartner. I'm Project Acquisition Director for ACDA. And
If you want to come up here, Jim, sit at the table here, maybe closer to the phone so people online
We
can
can
hear
hear you
you.
on the phone.
Okay. We're working with the Planning Department. Again, I'm Jim Weingartner, Project Acquisition Director for ACDA. And we're working with the Planning Department to revitalize downtown D Street area from 6th Avenue down to 9th Avenue. So it's a 6-block area. And we've got a public engagement event scheduled for First Friday, which is tomorrow, March 3rd, at the museum. And so anyone can come by. We'll have some placards up that will show the area, and from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's free access to the museum because it's First Friday, so there's going to be hopefully a big crowd. But we'll get input from the public then on what vision they see or would like to see happen in this district. We're calling the D Street district for now. So everybody's welcome to join and come out and give your input. This picture that's on the flyer shows how much surface parking there is in that 6-block area. If you total it up, I think it's more than 50% parking. So it'd be nice to see some other type of development in that area. ACDA is working to acquire J.C. Penney Garage, which is up in the northwest corner of that 6 block area at 6th and D. And then we're also working to acquire Block 102, which is at the southwest corner of 9th and D. So
And you're doing a trade for that? Is that what the situation is?
that's, yes, the Block 102 is owned by Alaska Housing Finance Corp. And we proposed a trade, and the excuse me, the trade parcel is owned by Heritage Land Bank. So that trade may happen between Alaska Housing Finance Corp. and Heritage Land Bank, and then we'll work with Heritage Land Bank to see that area developed.
All right, great. And so, of all the parking that is currently in this area, what percentage of those parking spaces are being used? I mean, are those lots only 50% occupied, or is it less, or do you have any idea?
Well, the Block 102 is used by state employees primarily, and then the lot that's behind the hotel is on 7th and C Street is federal employees, and then J.C. Penney Garage was heavily used by, of course, mall shoppers and Nordstrom's. We're seeing a real low turnout at that parking garage once Nordstrom's closed. Of course, COVID didn't help as well. So that's not a profitable venture right now. But we manage that parking garage for JCPenney now. But so all those parking lots are heavily used. If we redevelop, there's going to have to be parking involved in the redevelopment, definitely, in some manner.
So the parking would be, I guess you would say, consolidated. And
Yeah.
if you use one corner and develop it for housing, then
Yeah.
the people who are parking there would fill in the empty spaces in the other areas, or that's the theory?
Or we could have parking on the lower levels and residents on the upper levels. We could go subsurface and put a couple layers of parking below ground. Like, for instance, the parking garage next to the Captain Cook has 2 levels below ground. And so that's done fairly often.
Right, so you go down instead of building up.
Yeah.
Is that less expensive, or
Well,
about
it's
the
going
same,
to,
or-
there is a higher cost. You're
Higher
right.
cost.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, any questions from anyone else on this subject today? Anyone on the phone?
All right. Thank you.
All right, well,
Hope to see you all out tomorrow.
All right. Well, we were planning to have a presentation on broadband and digital equity today, but the invitation to the presenter didn't get sent out in time. So that's going to be on the agenda for our meeting on the 16th, which I actually won't be here on the 16th. So Mr. Cross, you'll be chairing the committee on that.
Happy to do so.
All right. So, I don't see anything else on the agenda. Anybody, Mr. Cross?
Although it wasn't on the agenda, I do want to follow up on a meeting that we had on Friday, which was just taking a look at our residential versus commercial code and how that's affecting triplex and fourplex. It was a very robust conversation. We talked about how that might affect some of the changes that we could put in that would inspire and help additional triplex and fourplex construction. We talked about the possibility of extending maybe even as far as sixplexes in some aspects, addressed traffic concerns, I think setback concerns. I'm trying to remember some of the other items that we had identified. The Anchorage Home Builders was there, some other individuals from construction, but it was I wasn't in attendance, I was on the phone, but it was, I want to say there was about 30 people in attendance, which is
No.
excellent.
Probably about 19.
Was there
20?
19? Which is
19
still
or
a lot.
20.
And in fact, Shelley, if you want to speak a little bit, because you were there and took voracious notes, you can give a little update on what we did. So,
Go ahead, Shelley.
Sure. Yeah. There was really good staff involvement. Fire was there. They were actually really helpful in pointing out that at the fourplex is actually where the state fire marshal becomes involved. So we will be speaking with them to figure out how to include fourplexes in the residential code and make sure we still comply with that state fire requirement. We had Cook Inlet Housing, we had Tyler and Devin and Jason Cable from there, and they provided us with some good feedback yesterday. There were probably, I don't know, Craig, did we come up with 6 or 7 other code recommendations out of that?
Yeah, there were a lot.
So we made really good progress. Staff was supportive. The building community was supportive. And I think we made really good progress towards coming up with something. So yeah, we're going to follow up with another one once we have something more solid on paper.
yeah, it was excellent. And my notes were drainage and lot coverage, R2M, lot size and setbacks, driveway and car access, fire sprinkler, and then alley improvements. So just a couple notes that I had on there, but there's actually quite a bit on there. So, taking a look at what is the minimal amount that we can affect or alter that's going to give us the highest reward. And so we're still in those conversations, but it was very productive.
So an ordinance is in development is what we're saying, or?
We are.
Yes.
We're in ordinance, but it's still in the very early stages. But the point is that if there's anybody who's listening who has information they'd like to contribute or concerns or things you'd like to bring to our attention, I do want the public to understand that we're working on it. And now in its early inception is the time to bring forward their concerns, because you know how it's a lot easier to start with something than it is to do in an unlimited amount of first. So.
Well, we should, if there's something that we think we might want to change that would help this coming building season, we should maybe prioritize that.
Yeah, I think that would be tough, because building season's they're gonna start pulling that probably within the next 60 days. It's gonna be
Yeah.
real
Probably doing
push.
it now.
I mean, when you say early stages, I think it's something that we're gonna probably be able to introduce in April.
I think that's optimistic,
Yeah.
but I would look forward to that.
Okay.
All right, sounds like April's going to be busy, which it usually is, especially with first quarter budget adjustments. And a large number of new members will be joining
yeah.
the assembly. And maybe
Got to re-educate everybody.
there's a little bit of a learning curve going on possibly there. All right. Fantastic. Anything else anybody wants to discuss as long as we're here today? Ideas for our next agenda besides that presentation? Mr. Cross?
I don't have anything for anything moving. I feel like we're getting a lot of progress. We've accomplished a lot in just the last year. I do want to speak that I have several people when I mention these and they go back, our audio in this. I know that normally we do these in City Hall. You guys are special. We come out to the planning department, but normally we do this in our City Hall where we have better audio and stuff we can hear. These recordings are very difficult because we do it through a phone. So I think one of two things needs to happen. Either we improve our audio so that the people online can hear better and understand what's going on. Because having these publicly posted meetings but then struggling to hear anything is ineffective. Or we move them to City Hall where we have the audio. I have no problem coming out here. Just recognize how special you are, because we have the fire department, the police department, everybody comes to City Hall, but we come out to the planning department because I can also stop by and visit all the departments, which is fantastic. I would prefer that we just look at a way that we can increase our audio for these meetings so we have a better record.
could we, I mean, I think the fishbowl has better audio, and we don't really have that many people that we couldn't fit in the fishbowl. It's the other
170.
conference
Oh,
room.
170.
Yeah,
So we did have it in there previously, and we probably could go back there now. I think we moved here into the training room because with all of the marijuana applications, we had a lot more people coming in. And since we've stopped doing that, we probably could move back in there.
I don't know what the fishbowl, I haven't used that room, so I don't know what the capacity is, but.
it's just a lot,
It's
We're
room
12 here.
170 right down the hall.
Yeah, it's about a third the size of this room or something like that.
yeah. With HLBAC, I think we fit 25 people in there before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25, yeah. That's tight, but
Very good. Let's look at doing that just so we get better audio on these.
Let's check
Yeah, hey,
for
Kevin.
for the meeting on the
Just check.
16th. Let's look and see if that's available.
What's
On
that?
the- On the phone?
I think
Yeah,
give it a try.
thanks, Pete. Just chime in. Shelley, Kevin, and Mr. Weingartner were all fairly easy to hear. Everyone else was pretty difficult to understand. And it may just be proximity to the phone, so just feedback.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. All right, so we'll see if we can get it lined up so the meetings are, in the future will be held in the smaller room, so it'll be easier for everyone to hear. Typically, it looks like we maybe have a dozen or so people coming to this committee in that room. Works fine for a group that size. If something more controversial comes up and we need to move back in this big room for one particular meeting, then that is something we can make an adjustment to later on. All right, well, anyone on the phone for audience participation or in the room that would like to participate? You get 3 minutes and tell us your name and what part of town you live in. And to unmute, it's *6. Do we have anyone called in, Mandy? Well, not hearing anyone, I guess I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
You're adjourned.